Well, there really is only one other big story this week out of the U.S., isn't there? I mean, it has to be the L.A. riots of 2025. And it's funny, by the way, how L.A. is so prone to civil unrest that you almost have to refer to the riots like Champagne House vintages. Oh, have you seen L.A. has released a 2025 riot? I wonder how they'll compare to the 2020 crop. Nothing like the classic 92s. Okay, you get the point, but there is something about Los Angeles that seems to love, well, not just civil disobedience, but full-on war with the authorities of the sort that, were it coming from the other end of the political spectrum, would be seen as an outright insurrection. Why? Because, and I think this has been lost a bit amidst the week's riots, which do seem to have settled down, surprise, surprise, with the threat of the National Guard and Marine deployments. At heart, these riots are about a fundamental question, not the obvious one about whether people in the country illegally.
No, because ICE had to pull back because the farmers were complaining and the businessmen were complaining because they were taking all their fucking workers. And the signs only said one thing, and that was ICE out of LA. So when you get ICE the fuck up out of LA and they slow down their operations, the rioters slow down. Acts as if he doesn't understand that.
Whether they have been there for a week or 2 decades, should be allowed to stay or removed. No, I think these riots are really about a much more fundamental question of American democracy.
You're not even American.
Who decides? Washington or California?
Actually, I mean, how can he possibly, like, if somebody lived here, I'm not saying like if he lived in America as an Australian, okay, fair enough. But he's not even in the country. You don't get to make that the judgments of what's of what the American people want or what's happening within America if you're not even you're not even here. You're not even in the land.
Because, put simply, when you look at what these riots are all about, how this moment has come about, it is because California and Los Angeles and all the other sanctuary cities and sanctuary states out there in the U.S. who refuse to comply with federal law enforcement on immigration matters believe that they, not Washington, have the right to decide immigration policy, or at least that they have the right to make their own decision about which federal laws they will and will not adhere to. It's not exactly how they meant it when they framed the Constitution. Those with law...
I'm sorry, what? The sovereignty of each individual state? They didn't mean that part when they made the Constitution? No, they were like, when they made the Constitution, they were like, no, we decide everything, okay? If you do not follow what we tell you to do, then we can just send in the military. Like, to an extent, that can happen. That is not what the Constitution says, however. It is not. The countries, first off, not the country, but Washington does not completely dictate everything over the state. That's bullshit. That's not how that works. That's how you lead to a secession from the country itself.
Long memories will recall that this sort of thing generally doesn't end well. That there on your screen is Ulysses S. Grant accepting the surrender of Robert E. Lee in 1865, formally ending the Civil War. Now, immigration is one of those things that's a federal matter. Borders belong to the whole country. It's not a state issue. And for those playing along, this was again decided as recently as 2012 when Arizona tried to wrestle with the feds over this very question. And they lost against the Obama administration in the Supreme Court. This is settled law. But California, their Governor Gavin Newsom, about whom more in a moment, and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, well, guess what? They don't care about any of this. They want California to remain a home for illegal migrants for a number of reasons, including the fact that even illegal migrants are still counted in the census, meaning their apportionment of Democrat congressional seats and federal dollars goes up the more migrants they have. And of course, it also means that Gavin Newsom gets to look like the big man as he tries to become the de facto leader of the Democrat Party, with his eye on a White House run in 2028. Gavin Newsom took to the airwaves this week to defend himself and big himself up to the left. And get a load out of this. This speech, it's an absolutely Orwellian retelling of the events of the past several days.
I want to say a few words about the events of the last few days. This past weekend, federal agents conducted large-scale workplace raids in and around Los Angeles. Those raids continue as I speak. In response, everyday Angelenos came out to exercise their constitutional right to free speech and assembly, to protest their government's actions. In turn, the state of California and the city and county of Los Angeles sent our police officers to help keep the peace. And with some exceptions, they were successful. California may be first, but it clearly will not end.
First off, why does he has tears in his eyes? He does not care that much.
Second off, they be acting for that presidential role. Like, I'm not on Sky News' side on this shit, obviously, because they're fucking insane. But Gavin Newsom, what's dumb about it is that they're gonna make him sound as if it's like, look how hard they're fighting to keep these immigrants in the country. Look at how hard they're fighting us. You see, and it's like, what are you talking about? He ain't did a damn thing. He is useless. Gavin Newsom has not done a fucking thing to actually stop the ICE raids. He has done nothing to really stop the use of the National Guard that was unnecessary, the sending in the military unnecessary. He ain't done shit. And then I think he just lost a fucking lawsuit. Like, the idea that they're like, the Democrats, look at how hard they're fighting us. It's like, they're not fighting you at all, though. That's the fucking issue with them. They're not doing anything. They're not putting up any bit of a fight against MAGA, and MAGA thinks as if they are fighting hard against them. Like, that's the illusion in their fucking head, is that these people who aren't doing shit to defend their states and defend the rights of the people within their state, as if they're fighting fucking tooth and nail. Like, that is not the case. They are not doing a damn thing.
And here, other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault.
Oh, come on, you cannot make this stuff up.
Yes, you can.
Democracy is under assault? Says the guy who's trying to undo what a democratically elected president is trying to do to follow up on his campaign promises? I mean, next thing you know, we're going to have Gavin Newsom questioning elections. And peaceful protest? Well, remember, Gavin Newsom is the guy who sent 5 cops out to arrest a hippie for meditating on the beach during COVID. Spare me the authoritarian.
Wait, so they give a fuck about... I don't even know anymore.
Talk.
And he insulted him by calling him a hippie in that sentence. Like, yo, it's so funny to me when conservatives are like, when they kind of take like a liberal stance to just to be like kind of contrarian to the people who are like to liberals. When liberals do anything that doesn't come off as liberal, conservatives all of a sudden take a liberal position. Like that video I saw not too long ago where the Spanish, maybe it was white. Oh yeah, I think it was like 2 white people that were like blocking the traffic or whatever. Obviously with a bunch of other people there. They're blocking the traffic, and this black lady gets out the car and starts arguing with them. And all of a sudden, it was like, look at how they're talking to that black lady, how they won't move out of her way and stuff. Y'all gonna do this to black people? Wait, when the fuck did you care about that type of stuff? Oh, because it's in your favor that you all of a sudden are like, look at how they're treating black people. That's how I feel when I hear them talk about, whenever I hear conservatives all of a sudden start talking like liberals. Cut that shit out. You don't care. Cut it out.
But this wedge that has developed between California and Washington, or more specifically the Trump administration, it's a deliberate one. Because even as the LAPD tries to quell the disturbances, those disturbances, well, they're all for show. The people signing the LAPD's paycheck are, in many cases, also working in league with those who are whipping up the flames on this issue. Earlier this week, I took a deep dive into this issue in the Daily Telegraph newspaper and found that groups, many of which receive taxpayer funding, such as the Center for Humane Immigrant Rights Los Angeles, as well as groups like the Marxist Party for Socialism and Liberation and the Services International Employees Union, have been whipping up confrontations on this issue, not just over the past week, but for years. But this week, David Huerta, the head of that union I mentioned, well, he was even arrested for allegedly blocking an ICE officer's vehicle during the protests. And then there were these scenes the other day where someone was handing out full bionic face masks to protesters. The man allegedly handing out those masks has been arrested, and the FBI is going to work with him to uncover and smash some of the networks that are funding these riots.
We have made it a huge priority to try to identify, locate, and arrest those who are involved in organizing, supporting, funding, or facilitating these riots that they're going on. It appears they're well orchestrated and coordinated and well funded, so we want to understand who these people are and where this organization is coming from. And today was one of those first arrests, the key arrests that we did.
Well, that's great, because if you've ever listened to people on the left talk about foreign interference and threats to democracy, well, this is kind of it. Because not only has the communist regime in Beijing cheered on the protests from the sideline as proof of America's decline, yeah, right, but also, remember that party for...
Yeah, right. No, America's not on the decline. Guys, capitalism is doing great right now. That's why we're panicking so hard. You only panic like this whenever you're winning.
Well, they are also unapologetic supporters of the Chinese Communist Party, writing on their website on the 60th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Revolution, quote, "Within a few years, the People's Republic of China virtually eliminated mass famine and illiteracy. Healthcare, education, employment, housing, and food became fundamental rights guaranteed to everyone," unquote. Yeah, sure, you can tell me about that great leap forward sometime. But speaking of China, over on the Chinese-controlled TikTok social media app, China, sure, you can rights guaranteed to everyone. Healthcare, education, employment, housing, and food became fundamental rights guaranteed to everyone, unquote. Yeah, sure, you can tell me about that.
Hold up, let me just... Within a few years, the People's Republic of China virtually eliminated mass famine and illiteracy. Healthcare, education, employment, housing, and food became fundamental rights guaranteed to everyone.
Everyone, unquote. Yeah, sure, you can tell me about that great leap forward sometime. But speaking of China, over on the Chinese-controlled TikTok social media app,
that's actual,
popular
reality
influencers are being boosted by the algorithm.
I love the denial of what's happening in China, because it's kind of funny. But what's even funnier is that he just read that off of a site that, I mean, whatever source that was, literally says socialism and liberalism in it.
As they spout startlingly similar anti-Trump, anti-immigration enforcement messages.
Being in a country that you're in illegally is a civil offense, not a criminal one. You know what else is a civil offense? Jaywalking.
And being undocumented is not a criminal offense. It's a civil one. And if you've ever jaywalked, congratulations, because you've also committed a civil offense.
Have you ever sped over the speed limit? Have you ever drank or smoked underage? Have you ever drank and then driven a car? What about jaywalking?
Being undocumented in America is a civil offense. It's not a criminal one. It's the same caliber.
Why do they all sound, they're like, I don't know, it just sounds weird the way that they're addressing this.
Traffic offense.
First sounds especially weird. Why
Funny, I wonder where they're getting their talking points. Meanwhile, in Mexico, well, guess what? Here's the president of the Mexican Senate suggesting that maybe, I don't know, Southern California should be given back to Mexico.
El presidente electo Donald Trump estaba 16 días de tomar protesta por primera vez como presidente, asumir el cargo. Y yo dije, si hacemos el muro, sí lo pagamos, pero lo hacemos con el mapa de México en 1830, quizás un tercio. Mínimo una cuarta parte del territorio norteamericano era parte de México hasta 1846. Fuimos despojados de estos territorios.
Yes, they suggest they want to go back to the 1830s, to the borders drawn by the Spanish. Which, as an aside, sort of proves the old point that the old decolonize movement is really just about protecting whoever got to someplace second last. But it also shows the sort of fire the left is playing with here. Because when you delegitimize a nation's borders, which is what the left has been doing for years, if not decades, you also delegitimize the nation itself.
All right, that's a beautiful statement. You know why?
Real fast, you said you were considering military force to acquire Panama and Greenland. Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No, economic force. Because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like, and it would also be much better for national security. Don't forget, we basically protect Canada.
They have no shame in anything that they say. They don't recognize that they are the issue. They don't understand that they don't understand any of the hypocrisy, or maybe they understand the hypocrisy, but they don't give a fuck that it's there. They don't understand. They don't care that they're hypocrites. You know, and it's like, I even fucking waste your breath with them, but man, is it hilarious sometimes to point out how stupid they are.